Welcome to the program on effective sourcing. In fact, we are going to discuss on outsourcing topic today. Sorry, there was a technical error in the previous program. Let me bring the screen set up right now. I am sharing my screen and so once again, regret inconvenience. Now let us go to the program. This topic will be of interest to the professionals working either in supply or supply chain, materials, purchasing, procurement, sourcing, whatever function you like to call. And we will see some overview on this topic. Before starting the program, I would like to briefly introduce to you about me. This is my LinkedIn profile, and my name is Pattabhi Raman. I am based in Bangalore. If you are not connected to me, you are welcome to connect with me. I can be searchable by using the keyword supply chain master. As far as my education is concerned, I am BE MBA with PG diploma in data science. I have nearly 2.5 decades experience in this large multinational organizations. Let me put the screen to the big screen. And I have been working in various subdomains of the supply chain in this organization, and I have a practical knowledge in each of these functions. Last assignment, I was heading the supply chain in one of the European MNC known as BISE. Last 4 years, I am heading this current organization known as Thoughtware Training Private Limited. As far as my certification is concerned, these are certification from APIX, which are core supply chain oriented. Also, there is certification from institute called Demand Driven Institute. But coming specific to the sourcing or purchasing, there is a certification called Certified Purchasing Manager from Institute of Supply Management, and I am also qualified in business analytics. Coming to our organization, it's based in Bangalore, 4-year-old organization. I am heading this organization. We provide both consulting and training in the domain of supply chain, logistic, and analytics applied to supply chain. And we operate with the trade name of Expert SEM. We provide short-term job-oriented type of training, which is called executive certificate or diploma program in the domains of supply chain, logistic, more recently towards analytical portion of it, which is very popular in our programs. Currently, we have launched a program known as Certified Sourcing Analyst, and other trainings are in the form of APIX certification training and various other global certification training. Now, coming to the topic, today we are going to see outsourcing strategies. In fact, every organization need to outsource some or the other activity. Either it can be product or component, or even it could be a service. Okay, but there are some strategy which has to be adopted by the organization, so that you have to take care of the risk in outsourcing. So we are going to see what are the various risk in outsourcing, also the benefits which will come from the outsourcing. So outsourcing has been progressively increasing. Many organizations, they even completely outsource the production, but possibly they are trying to retain their own core competency. So they have to decide what is their core competency and outsource other non-core activities. Okay. They many industry, if you take Nike, they have outsourced entire manufacturing, possibly in the electronic industry. If you say Cisco as suppliers across the world, recently, Apple has outsourced almost 70% of their component. Some cases I heard they are doing 100% production from a contract manufacturers. Okay, so here what we are going to outsource, is it only the product or component, or is it also a design or some other service? Now there are manufactured not only Taiwan, including India, China. They can design and manufacture most of the laptop which are sold around the world. Brand like HP and Palm One collaborate with the Asian suppliers for designing and manufacturing. But you may have a lot of questions or issue with respect to outsourcing. Why do so many technology companies outsource manufacturing and even innovation to Asian manufacturers, specifically to China so far? What are the risks involved? Should the outsourcing strategy depend upon product characteristics such as product clock speed, and if so, how? So there are a lot of benefits to outsourcing. That is the reason why the organization go for outsourcing. The number one benefit could be economies of scale, especially when the product is being launched. The volume may not be so high, so the cost per unit could be high, but the outside supplier may be able to provide in lower cost, because they may be also dealing with other customers, so they are able to achieve the economies of the scale. Risk pooling, possibly you may face a lot of demand variation. Above a certain limit, you may decide to outsource the component. We will see what are the strategy available for risk pooling. And by this process, you are trying to transfer some amount of demand uncertainty to your vendors. Okay. Coming to the capital investment, normally this is a huge expenditure for the organization, especially in the initial period of product launch, where the demand certainty is very low and predictability is also not so much high. So organization doesn't want to invest money in the capital investment, so that could be reason for outsourcing. Coming to the benefits, here you have to know what are the core competency for a particular organization. You need to identify. Many organization can tell what is their core competency, in the sense what they are able to do better than the outside organization. It could be their patent or some specific process in their design or manufacture or logistics, which they may have the competency and are able to do better. So organization has to first find out what is their core competency, and then take a call on outsourcing other non-core areas. Okay. Buyer has to focus on their core strength. There is no use in focusing on some activity which is not being efficiently performed, while there are outside vendors available who can do much better. Okay. So you need to allow some differentiation in terms of how you can do better compared to your competitors. You can also do outsourcing to increase your flexibility, the ability to react to changes in the customer demand. And also possible, some of the vendors have advanced technical knowledge, and you can do outsourcing if you need such knowledge. And some industry needs high flexibility, which is very critical in certain industry, especially high tech industry where technology is going on a rapid innovation. For example, if you take fashion industry where the product life cycle is very short, of course this is going to come with a lot of risk in terms of loss of competitive advantage when you are dealing with the outside source. Possibly the vendor is also dealing with your competitor, so there is a possibility of leaking your knowledge, process knowledge to your competitor. Or there could be some other issues like the vendor could copy the patent or trademark, and in many instances you have seen the supplier becoming a competitor. So we need to have a framework when we are deciding on outsourcing. Possibly how can the firm decide on which component to manufacture and which to outsource. Here we are not talking only about the component, it could be even the service, so that the organization can focus on their core competencies. But the basic requirement is you need to know what is your strength for your organization in the form of core competencies and what is outside the core. Taking overall, there are mainly two reasons for outsourcing. Possibly dependency on capacity. The firm has the knowledge and the skill required to produce the component, but they do not want to invest in the capacity, or there could be some reason that they want to depend on outside capacity. We have seen some of the reasons. And dependency of on knowledge. Here we are trying to outsource only the service portion or knowledge. There are the lot of process which you can outsource, which is basically a service oriented, like even a design could be a knowledge. Here in this case we do not have sufficient knowledge on such processes. Possibly they are people or the skills involved. On the other hand, outside parties have superior knowledge and capabilities. If you see the outsourcing decision at Toyota, roughly they around 30% to only is done in-house. Possibly, if you take engines, company has the both the knowledge and capacity, and possibly this could be one of their core competency. And it's like a art of a automobile, which they don't want to leak their process and knowledge to the outside party. So here they decide to do 100% of the engines internally. Okay, coming to the transmissions, it is not such a core item. The company has the knowledge but not the capacity. It can design all the components, but it's looking only a support on the capacity. So it is trying to outsource only the capacity portion. You can see roughly 70% of the components are outsourced in case of transmission. When you take vehicle electronic system, it is designed and produced by Toyota supplies, which means it is 100% taken care by the vendors. Possibly the risk is minimum in this type of product. So you need to identify even within a product what is your core competency, where the risk is less. Accordingly you can take up for the outsourcing decision. In case of vehicle electronic system, company has dependency both on capacity and knowledge. Also, the outsourcing can depend on product architectures. If it's a modular product, it is always beneficial to the customer also for outsourcing, because here you have a possibility of reducing the risk in terms of giving different modules to different vendor, so that assembly you can do internally. So market also desires this type of a product which is of modular in nature. Here you have a product components which are independent of each other. components are interchangeable, and the standard interfaces are used. Customer preference determines the product configuration. Coming to the other side, we are seeing an integral product where all the components are totally integrated, and each of the component cannot perform separately. So this is a unique characteristic, and if you ask me, most of the product currently are in the integral product. Very few products comes with a modular option. If you take, for example, PC or desktop could be optional, where you can add additional memory or RAM, such things. But if you take a refrigerator, TV, or a air conditioner, you will not have a major choice of adding the capacity or additional options to your product. So that becomes more like a integral product. Okay, so it has its own characteristics. So we need to deal these two things in a different way. Of course, here we are not talking about a component; we are talking about a finished product, and this is more towards the demand side. Possibly, you are trying to outsource the entire product, not the component here. So there is a framework for make or buy decision involving this product or architecture. You can see in case of a modular, outsourcing is risky, but it's better than the integral product. You can see the outsourcing is very risky. And can you, if the independent for knowledge and dependent for depends the capacity, modular is always an opportunity. You can straight away go for outsourcing, but not in case of integral, where it can be only a choice. Coming to independence on both the knowledge and capacity, the opportunity is there more for a modular product to reduce the cost through outsourcing, whereas it is always suggested to go for internal manufacturing in case of a integral product. Also, there is a hierarchical model to decide whether make to buy or buy, depending on customer importance. If you feel it is very important to customer, you may decide to keep this operation internally. Okay. Coming to the component clock speed, here we are seeing in terms of product life cycle or the technology changes happening. So depending upon how fast or slow, you can either decide to go outsource or insource. Competitive position analysis is also important. Do we also have capable suppliers to do what we need to outsource? And of course, the product architecture we have seen just now. Possibly many of the purchasing professional are aware about Kraljic supply matrix. Here we are talking about the component. Earlier we were talking about the finished product, but here we are seeing in terms of component. And it is always possible to classify all the components in four categories. You can see on the x-axis we are talking about profit impact from low to high, and on the other hand, supply risk on the y-axis, low to high. And you have a strategic item when the supply risk as well as profit impact is high, then suggested strategy for outsourcing is forming a partnership role, because this is for a long time and you have to depend on the vendor. On the other hand, if you have low supply risk and low profit impact, then it becomes non-critical items. Possibly these are staple and low value item where the demand is more or less stable. You need not focus much on this type of item, and possibly you can outsource or automate this process using RPA or some other software application. On the other hand, in between both the strategic and non-critical item, you have bottleneck items where the supply risk is high but the profit impact is low. There, our main focus is to ensure the supply. On the other side, you have leverage item where the profit impact is high but supply risk is low. So here you have to minimize the cost. You can exploit the purchasing power and exploit. So you need to classify or segment your items into this four category, and accordingly have a procurement strategy applicable for each of this category. Okay. Come one more way to deal with the outsourcing is whether your product is a functional product or innovative product. Functional product is something of a day to day use. Okay, I mean, they are also low value items, and the demand is stable and people expect them to be available at a cheaper rate. You can see items like diapers, soap, milk, tires, possibly anything related with food, or clothing or health related, and such basic item. Appropriate supply chain strategy could be pushed based on demand. Focus is on efficiency, cost reduction, and supply chain planning. On the other hand, if you have an innovative product, the way in which we have to deal this will be totally different. Possibly some form of a full strategy can be developed, because here lead time will be expected to be more. So there are some examples like fashion item, cosmetics, but more related to high tech products. Appropriate supply chain strategy could be pull, and here the focus could be high profit margin. And you will see some of the characteristic like fast clock speed, unpredictable demand. So you need to focus on a different angle for these two different categories. Especially for the functional product, the customer expectation is lower cost, so the focus should be on minimizing total landed cost. Of course, landed cost is not the purchase price. Purchase price is a price at the gate of the vendor, but when you are getting it to your gate, there are a lot of intermediate expenses. And if you are importing this item, possibly the duties and other handling charges will come into picture. So our focus should be to minimize the total landing cost. It can include the unit cost, transportation, inventory holding cost, handling cost, or other duties and taxation, cost of financing. Possibly this type of product could be from low cost country, though China is referred, and now China is no more a low cost country because their cost of living is on par with Western economies. Possibly India and other Southeast Asian countries are taking a position, its place. And coming to the innovative product, of course, the focus is on reducing the lead time and on supply flexibility. Okay, in the year, the sourcing should be close to the market area, and short lead time can be achieved by air shipment depending upon the density of the item. And you can also see a case example of HP portfolio strategy. Especially, they had at one point of a time huge demand for flash memory, but uncertain price and supply, significant financial and technical supply risk, commitment to purchase a large amount of inventory. We are not sure whether we can commit for a long time in case of unpredictable demand and supply. Not but on the other hand, if you don't have the enough supply, you are going to lose the sales. So it is some type of a awkward situation. That's where HP has gone something called portfolio strategy management. In fact, one of our previous session, we have seen a portfolio type of a contract management. You can have some fixed commitment, long term commitment for a certain quantity. Subsequently, you can move for an option contract, and finally leftover can be a spot purchasing. It's like investing in the stock market, and give the choice of investment to your bankers. They will put it in whichever option available so that they can maximize the return. But something similar we are using in the portfolio strategy for the same supplier as well as for the same component. Certain level you decide to give a fixed commitment, certain next level could be based on options, and next level is go to the spot market and do the spot purchasing. Of course that works better in many situations. So as a outsourcing, it has both the benefits and the risk. So your buy or mix decision should be based on whether particular component is modular or integral, whether or not a firm has the expertise and capacity to manufacture a particular item. Of course, with the other variety of criteria, including customer importance, technological clock speed, competitive position, number of supplier, product architecture, and procurement strategy can vary from component to component. Four category we have seen, and also other factor we have to consider in the outsourcing. Of course, if you are in the job market, you need to take care of two things, because one main important thing is you have to upskill, and there is no other choices. So you need to know what are the ways employers are selecting the candidates for any particular job. With rapid development and changes happening in the marketplace, the skill set expected from procurement professional is changing. Possibly analytical skill is taking a top spot now, apart from global certifications. And if you ask me why I should have this, because employers prefer them. Possibly I can show you some of the job posting in the current environment. I have taken from a recent job posting. You can see the title is changing in terms of analytical positions. HP is calling for a procurement operation analyst. There is a company Boeing with which most of you are aware. Here in this slide, we are seeing only the titles. Of course, you need the analytical skill to handle this kind of a job. The position title is Associate Procurement Analyst in case of a Boeing, and in case of a bank, it is for a invoice analytics is also important. That is one aspect. If you want to increase the weightage of your resume, you can always look for some globally recognized certificate in purchasing. Of course, leading one is from ISM, Institute of Supply Management. They provide something called CPSM, Certified Purchase Professional in Supply Management. This is what I hold the certification in the previous format called CPM, Certified Purchasing Manager. Or there is one organization called SIPS. They provide in terms of certificate and diploma at various level. You can Google up, you will get all this certification details. And you can also see how the organization are looking in terms of the certification. Here you can see CPM or CPSM is required for commodity analyst, and there is one organization called Suez. They are specifically looking for CPM and or CPSM. And Ernst and Young, they are looking for CPSM. So here you can see a combination of analytical skill as well as a global certification is required if you are looking searching for a job or a better job, or if you are entry level person and looking for a job in purchasing domain. You need these two skills. Of course, who can do upskilling or skilling, it is for all the level. In fact, we provide a program called Certified Analyzing Sourcing Analyst, which is suitable for all levels, more of a job oriented, and it is going to increase your weightage of the resume. Of course, we conduct a program from the base zero level, so you don't need any previous knowledge of analytical tool. Okay, but some basic knowledge of Excel or IQ, some mathematics, statistics may be required. As far as where should I do it, of course, you should consider three important aspects in terms of the training organization or specifically towards the trainer. You should see whether the trainer is having the required practical experience, not from the academic field. Second quality could be a globally recognized certification holder should be there. Third important criteria is the same person is also having the analytical capabilities. You have to search whether all this are the combined requirement, not individual requirement. If the trainer is having all this requirement, you can select them. And of course, I have all these three categories. Regarding our program, certified sourcing analyst, this is a three modules. In fact, our topics on module 1 and 2 is as far as global standard, even if it can help you in taking any global certification exams. But model 3 is focusing specifically towards analytical application. We train candidates both on advanced Excel and Python. Of course, here we are going to use the live projects required for in the sourcing field. All this program offered weekends, and these are specifically live and online interactive type of a program. You can visit our website and see the customer feedback. If you are a fresher looking for an internship, scholarship, and placement assistance, which we can do after you enroll to our programs. And here are the contract details. You can always WhatsApp to this number if you need a detailed brochure about our program, or if you need to speak to me on any requirement, you can always fix up time and talk to me. Thanks for participating. Have a nice evening. Bye.